Good. I remember you, I think, from the. Okay. I don't wear t-shirts. I don't wear t-shirts. I don't wear t-shirts out and just like. Oh yeah, if you see me walking around like in my neighborhood, you probably say, yeah, I do wear t-shirts. And that kind of thing. But like,
the Savior come again. And oh, I'm coming home, Lord. Every day I keep trusting in your word. And Lord, keep me every day of my life. Oh, sin. Oh, I need when it's all over, I want you to write my name above. Lord, when the gates swing open, I may be better down that day. Oh, it's good when I say when I'm all by myself. Lord, teach me how to treat my neighbor. And every day I want you to teach me how to love my friend. Lord, fill me with your Holy Spirit until the Savior. I'm waiting on Jesus to come again. Oh, I need Lord. Oh, when it's all over, I want you right now. My name above. Oh, when the gates swing open. Oh, Father. I heard a soldier say these words. Lord, I'm tired. And my soul needs resting. Lord, I'm so tired of being viewed as God. Friends talk about me, and my enemies misuse me. I keep marching on until you come and carry me home. Oh, I need Father, when it's all over, he's right now, name above. Oh, when Never would have made it. Never could have made it without you. I would have lost it all. But now I see how you were there for me, and I can say, never would have made it. Never could have made it without you. I would have lost it all. But now I see how you were there for me, and I can say I'm stronger, I'm wiser, I'm better, much better. When I look back over all you brought me through, I can see that you were the one I held on to, and I never would have made it. Oh, I never could have made it. Never could have made it. Oh, I would have lost it all. Oh, but now I see how you were there for me. I never would have made it. No, I never could have made it. I would have lost my mind a long time ago if it had not been for you. I'm stronger, I'm wiser, now I'm better, so much better. I've made it through my storm and my test because you were there to carry me through my mess. I'm stronger, I'm wiser, I'm better. Anybody better? I can stand here and tell you I've made it. Anybody out there? You made it. I'm stronger, I'm wiser, I'm better, much better. I made it. I made it. I made it. Never would have made it. Never could have made it.
You took us to church, bro. What's happening, man? Woo! Hey, welcome to the session. Bible Beats and Bars. Yeah, we cleaned up really nice. I think we got a little something super special today. Well, I'm your host, Minister Fred, too. Want to say thank you for taking the time to join us. And, this is really kind of, I guess, the kickoff season for the holiday. You know what I mean? What you think, bro?
Yeah, we kicking it off, man. It's going to happen either way.
You already know,
right? We here.
Well, yes, it is. And it's my man, DJ Scissorhand on the ones and twos, man. You feeling good, baby?
Yeah, we feeling lovely today, man.
All right. So, listen, we're going to get in on this flip the script because, listen, the theme for today is super amazing. So I'm going to give you the flip the script. It's Hebrews 11:39 through 40, and it goes like this. And we're going to do the message version. I wanted something a little different, but really right down the alley of what we're talking about. Right. And it goes 39 and 40 goes something like this. Not one of these people, this is who we're going to be talking about, even though their lives of faith were exemplatory, meaning they really were some amazing examples of what faith looks like. Listen, they got their hands on what was called the promise. And then God had a better plan. A better plan. Remember that. A better plan for us. And he says that their faith and our faith would come together to make one completed whole and not be separated. For their lives were lives of faith, not complete apart from each other. You know, I think it's interesting that when we talk today with our special guest who will share some amazing things, the reality is what makes faith so amazing. This is what we're going to talk about. She's starting it today. We're going to finish it throughout the end of this year. Is that faith declares that it is done. Faith says God is doing it and has already planned the done part. You just got to walk with him. So today, when we talk about healers, we'll be talking about it from a perspective of understanding the struggle and how faith and how it works and how making a conscious decision that as I live, as I breathe, I will not only walk by faith, but I'm going to walk in faith. So today we want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. Make sure you share this with everyone around you. When I say it's going to get deep, but it's going to be glorious, it's going to be amazing. So, Scissor, why don't you set us off, man, before we're going to go up our guests and we're going to do some real work. All right, let's give it up for my man, DJ Scissorhand. Let's go. Okay, I'm feeling some kind of way.
Had a special request for that. We'll get it in.
Woo!
I don't cross every T.
Come on.
I don't dot every I. Got more flaws than a little, and I messed up 1,000 times. I don't always commit. Sometimes I give up way too quick, and then I get tired of trying to run away from who I am to who I want to be. Some days are better than others. I can be up and I'm down. But beyond my mistakes, found in your grace, and this one thing will never change. You still love me, in spite of me. You still chose me. How can it be? Every scar, every flaw, you see it all. You see it all. You still love me, love me. Oh, in spite of me. In spite of me.
Yeah, I'm stubborn at heart. I'm quick to put up with God. I do it all by myself. I won't ask for help, and sometimes my mouth is smart and be insecure. Doubting other people's blessings and never stop to notice what I got. Yeah. Some days I'm better than others. I can be up and I'm down. But beyond my mistakes, I'm found in your grace, and this one thing will never change. You still love me, in spite of me.
You still
Yeah, I like that,
chose me. How can it be?
How can it be?
Every scar,
Every scar, every flaw, you see it all.
you see it all.
You still love me, love me.
You still love me.
You still love
In spite of
me.
me.
In spite of me,
Hey, you still chose.
you still chose me.
How can it
How
be?
can it be?
Every scar,
Every scar, every flaw, you
Yeah.
see it all.
you see it
Man,
all. You still love me.
in spite of me, in spite of you, he still loves us. Let me pray, man. I just feel some kind of way right now. So, God, we just want to say thank you. So grateful that you still love us in spite of us. We thank you for your grace. That's something we didn't even deserve. We thank you for your mercy when we fall short of our goals and your glory. We want to say hallelujah to your name for being so amazing to us. And so as we talk a little bit more about how things have moved with your leadership through the eyes and of the abilities of different individuals, we ask that you would bless. Bless those that are tuned in, those that are watching, those that will listen and watch later. We ask that you'll bless everything that has been, will be shared and has been shared. And Lord, show us what it means to be faith dwellers. In the name of he who makes all things well, who is Yahshua of the Bible, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So again, I want to say welcome to the session, Bible Beats and Bars. I'm your host, Minister Fred, too, hanging out with my man, DJ Sizzler. I think we should give him a little Christmas something going on. Do we want to bring the guests up first, or do we want to do the Christmas piece? I think we'll do the guests first. Let's bring up our guests, man. I think that'll be really good. We're going to do a presentation afterwards. I want to introduce you to Dr. Ramona Hyman. She's an amazing person. Come on up here. Amazing. Come on, let's put our hands together for Dr. Hyman. Yes, indeed. Woo! How are you doing today?
I am doing quite nice.
Doing well?
I am.
All right. So we're going to do, I know this is, Christmas is one of those seasons that you really, really, really enjoy, right?
I do.
So why don't you do us a favor? Tell us why Christmas is so special to you, or this time of the year is so special,
Well,
before we get into our mix.
okay, so I'm sure that Minister Fred would expect me to say something very philosophical. But Christmas for me reminds me of my family, my immediate family, and especially as I'm looking at these lights, my dad. My dad, during every Christmas, the reason why I decorate for Christmas traditionally is because my dad made sure that our house was a Christmas house every year. And we had, you all are kind of a little younger than me, the silver Christmas tree. Remember when they had silver Christmas trees out? My dad and I would put up, my dad and I. Now, I have two other sisters.
Okay.
My dad and I.
You said that for real.
We would put up that silver Christmas tree and, with the lights that went around, shine different colors. And the season always reminds me of him. And I'm walking in that tradition. And then for years, he always had, we didn't eat pork because, my dad at one point was a Muslim. So we didn't eat pork, but we did have black-eyed peas.
Oh, yeah.
With smoked turkey in it.
Mhm.
And so we could not leave January 1 without black-eyed peas. So
Wow, that's
not deep, but that is
No,
true.
that's cool. That's
that is
cool.
Christmas for me.
Hey, I get it. All right, Scissor, what for you this season, holiday family, what does that mean to you? I mean, that's interesting.
I mean, it's always at the end of the year. It's a good time for me to reflect and look at everything that I've achieved, accomplished, and survived. So that's what the holidays mean to me. I also enjoy seeing families piece together, like here in a store like yours. I don't necessarily have no stores to go with my life, but I understand because that's important. It's important for the people to have that vibe and that spirit going along. So I commend families and fathers, if you were privileged as you were, having that bond.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I think for me, the holiday season, like since we're kicking off on this Christmas spirit, what I love about Christmas is seeing people smile. Like this is one of the seasons, I would say this probably is the most amazing season where you see more people smiling, finding a space where they can find a smile, which includes family, food, fun, travel. And for me, I enjoy that. And as a kid growing up, we used to travel all the way down to Florida from wherever we were. If I was in New York or we were in Ohio, we ended up in Alabama, we would travel to Florida because my dad was a minister. He was a bishop and a pastor. And we would go to this big preachers convention. And we would go down to Disney World. We go to Tampa, Miami. It was amazing. So like we look forward to that. And then they would have the black-eyed peas and the turkey. And then for those that didn't eat, they would have some type of vegetarian dish and what have you. And we got to jump in that swimming pool. That was real right there, brother.
Yeah.
That was real. Yeah, that was the real one right there. And then you can see alligators on the swamp. We catch a tour. It was like crazy. So I think it's important that we take the time as we're now in the season of giving, the season of reflection, the season of friends, family, to always know that it's nothing like Christmas. It's nothing like this time because you can do so much more good, whether you see it as a holiday, whether you see it as a time where you can get away and do good for others. God says, every good and perfect gift comes from above, the Father of lights. Christmas has lights. Christmas has the show and the bling and all of that cool stuff. And so you don't have to necessarily dwell on the negative, the materialism that comes with it, the history that had nothing to do with Christ. But you can say, well, since it is a holiday where everybody's into giving, let me go purchase X amount of gifts, some blankets. That's what we're doing now with the giveaway with ANVO, Alabama Nonviolence. So if you want to support, definitely do that. You can go to our website. You can make a donation. Say, hey, listen, I want to donate so that can you buy some blankets? Can you get some undergarments for individuals coming out of lockup that have families, toys, and so on and so on and so on. So you can do so much good. And Christmas is an amazing time. Why don't you throw a mix on, man? Give us a Christmas mix. You're going to hear this mix by my man, DJ Scissorhand, and we're going to get right in. That's what's up.
All the mistletoe.
Okay.
I'm gonna get to know you better this Christmas. And as we trim the tree, how much fun it's gonna be together. This Christmas, the fireside is blazing bright. Whoa, we're caroling through the night. Whoa, this Christmas will be a very special Christmas for me. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Hang on, mistletoe, I'm gonna get to know you better this Christmas. And as we trim the tree, how much fun it's gonna be together. This Christmas, the fireside is blazing, brum, 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 brum.
Take it back, bro. That's that bucket Christmas. Oh, there it is, man. Y'all put your hands together for DJ Scissorhand. Woo! Wow. Yeah, a little shum. Wow. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you. And we got Kwanzaa too. So we got to make sure, can't wait to that. We get to that the week before. It's going to be amazing. So let's get right in. I am excited about what we are talking about today, Scissor. We are talking about African American healers. African American healers. Dr. Hyman? Now, there's a lot of things we can say. And what do you think when you hear, let's do it this way. I like this, just hit me. Scissor, when someone says, do you know an African American healer? What is that? When someone says that, what does that mean to you? What do you think? The first thing that comes to your mind, what is that thing? What do you think?
Hey, it might be the first time I ever heard it phrased that way. African American healer.
Yes.
Right. I don't know. Maybe something like Dr. Sebi and things like that I may have looked into, but I know it's our culture has so many facets that we can go down and discover other avenues. I don't know what it could be, possibly anything, because we're so unique.
Come on now. And this is a special presentation, and we wanted you all to be a part of this conversation with Dr. Ramona Hyman. Now, she is a prolific author. She's a professor. She's world traveled. She travels. There's a lot of things I can say about her, but today I'm really wanting to have this discussion with Dr. Hyman in terms of the author of this new book, African American Seventh-day Adventist healers in a multicultural what nation?
Nation.
Nation. So let's talk about it. Let me ask. First of all, thank you for being a part of this session. Let's give it up for Dr. Ramona Hyman one more again. So let's talk about it. This is a very interesting book. I got a chance to look at the introductory and take a look at some of the, the acknowledgement and so on and so on, and it was really, really amazing. So I want to start with this first question. What inspired you to come up with that name for this book and project?
Okay. My inspiration. This has been, as we talked about the other day, a long journey
Okay.
in terms of me. And this morning I was reflecting upon the journey.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I understand, and I right now, I guess when you get a certain age, I'll be 65, folks. Real happy
Hey.
about
All
that.
right, all right.
Um,
Woo.
But so you're able to, if you have a career that has spanned it over 30 years, um, one of the blessings is that sometimes you get an opportunity to not just understand who you are through your own eyes, but through the eyes of others. And so when I wrote my first book, there's a critic, African American critic by the name of Joyce.
Right.
And so she says that Hyman explores a poetic imagination grounded in a feel for the Southern landscape, African American literary and political history, Black spirituality, and a creative fusion of Black folk speech with a Euro-American poetic vernacular.
Wow.
So what does that mean for me as I'm sitting at home and I'm eating fried chicken and greens, and I do cook greens, right? Okay, so what it means for me is this, is that every day when I wake up in the morning, I am stooped in that tradition
Let's move your
of,
mic a little bit
of
over to the
African
right.
American thought, of walking in the tradition of Christian spirituality,
Mm.
and I have lived with that. So that impacts the work that I do. So when you live in that space, you understand, especially when you follow our tradition. And I'm talking about African American tradition.
Yeah.
When you follow that through and you look at your people, you begin to get a sense and understand, at least I did, and this is the idea, that the people are healers.
Mm.
So, in spite of whatever is going on, people walking around with this Christian spirituality and this African American tradition, understanding that it's not always, it has been challenging for us, but we always overcome.
Right.
We're some healing folk. So that's where the concept came from. So then I was working at Loma Linda University
All right.
in California.
Okay.
It's a health science institution. And I was working out of the School of Religion. And so, of course, I'm influenced by my environment, which is an environment of health. And so I say to myself, how have we been? I'm talking about African Americans. I want everybody to keep in mind
Yeah,
that I'm
correct,
speaking about
correct.
African Americans. I'm
Okay.
speaking about those people who historically suffered through the Middle Passage, okay,
Right.
and were brought to this country. So when you look at those people closely, right, we've had a lot of suffering,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes we begin our conversation with us with a conversation of suffering. But let's flip this. Let's flip this. If our conversation needs to begin as a primary text, that we have been healers because in spite of whatever has happened to us on that boat,
Right. Correct.
okay, always being the people who are called out, that people want to quote unquote kill,
Mm.
right? Or disenfranchise, right?
Right.
we still walk with a peace. Just notice us. We walk with a peace. So that's where the concept was birthed in terms of African American healers. Because as we begin anytime, so when you look at a person, like I'm looking at you all in this room now, I begin my focus with this is a healer. You're a healer. That's who you are, right? So in the historical context, we are the foundational healers for this country. We're also the covering healers.
Yeah.
Now let me explain
Yeah,
why.
I was going to say, explain that because
Okay, let me explain why. We are the only group in this country who were immigrants twice.
wow, twice.
Twice. One, we were brought over here to be enslaved. And from this day forward, whoever's listening to this, African Americans were never slaves. We were enslaved.
Say that. Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So we were brought over here on that day, on those daggone boats, right? And we were enslaved. We were enslaved immigrants.
Come on now.
Okay. Then, as a result of the Emancipation Proclamation and the 13th Amendment of the Constitution, we were free, right?
Correct.
And so, therefore, we became an immigrant, another type of immigrant, right? So we're foundational because, in spite of the fact that we were enslaved on that plantation, we still offered a conscious healing to these people who made us 3/5.
Right.
Because we went through all that, and guess what? We still operate with the other people who othered us. We treat them with kindness. That's healers. Okay.
And we believe that kindness overcomes the
ills.
It does everything.
Okay.
So we're the covering also because of that second immigrant. We were free. We became immigrants. And although, as Amiri Baraka says, one of my mentors, we were problematic immigrants because they did not know what to do with us and still trying to figure that out. Right? But in spite of all of that, we operate in love. I just asked you all just to go down to history. So that's where the concept came from in terms of Africa. So anytime I think of us and I begin a conversation about African American people, it begins out of that.
You know, first of all, thank you for sharing a truth that is seldom shared. And even from the context, even if we look at what's happening now in the country regarding race, theory, context, what needs to go in books, what doesn't, I am very appreciative of this conversation. And I know Scissor and all you all that are watching, because you have given us a proper context. We're not slaves. We were enslaved. We're in twice. Because, you know, I never really thought about that. I realized it because, at one point we were enslaved and we got our freedom in Juneteenth and so on and so on. And now we are freed slaves.
No, we're not free slaves.
Well, that was the context that was given to us, but we're not. That's my point.
What about second-class citizens? Is that
We're not second-class citizens. You know, we have to reframe. Okay, so when you walk in, and I'm not saying this, I'm not arrogant.
I hear you.
No, we're with you.
Okay.
We're with you.
I walk in a humble spirit.
Right.
So I walk on the planet. I don't walk as a quote unquote second class citizen. I am an African American.
Okay.
That's who I am.
Okay.
Again, it goes
Now,
back to context.
If you see me as a second class citizen, you're walking in your woundedness, not mine.
Understood.
Amen.
So what do I need to do? Let me give you an example. True story. When I was 55, I told you I'm getting ready to be 65. So when I was 55, My sister, my niece, and I, we were driving down to Huntsville. We were stopped in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay.
I'm a slow driver. Okay.
Okay. All right.
And so, but we were stopped by the police officer. They had me get out of the car. My niece and my sister got out on the other side. They asked for, what do you think they asked for?
ID.
What did they want out of that car? They wanted the drugs
I hear you.
and the gun.
Okay.
Wow.
So what they did is they saw me as a particular type of citizen,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Now, if I saw myself as that same type of citizen,
You would play it into that scheme.
I would have played into that.
Mm-hmm.
But because I did not see myself,
Mm-hmm.
make a long story very short, I was handcuffed,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? Because I did not receive myself as that type of citizen, because I do walk in this spiritual space,
Mm-hmm.
because I do think every day of the tradition that I come out of in terms of African American healers, that ended with the handcuffs off, the officer apologizing,
Mm-hmm.
and me saying to him, speaking to his woundedness,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
young man, I thank you for your work. What was his response? Ma'am, this has never happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
My response, young man, this has never happened to me either.
Mm.
I hear you.
His response, 4 of my fellow officers were killed. My response, I'm really, really going to pray for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He said when I got out of that car, he thought I was a man, because I had
I hear you.
this, my hoodie on,
I hear you.
Mm.
a jogging clothes on. But it doesn't matter what someone else sees me as,
Right.
it's how I see myself.
Right. Right.
So who am I? I'm an African American healer.
I get it.
Wow.
I get it. And then you use that in the situation.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I left that place. My younger sister said she had never seen anything like. She and my niece were on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
My niece was getting ready to just, go to town.
I hear you.
Right, right.
But my sister said I start speaking to heaven
Mm-hmm.
the whole time, in between the questions that he asked me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about every single historical person that I knew. But also, I live. That's my primary text there in that tradition. So, as we're having this conversation now, I am thinking about it. So that's where the concept evolves. A conversation has to begin by saying that's who we are. We're African American healers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you have some little Black children walking around, hey, you're an African American
Mm-hmm.
healer. When you look in their eyes, that's what you want to from your heart to theirs before you even say anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. 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 Mm-hmm.
And that's a power that is spiritual. It is truly spiritual, to understand that you are made in the image of God, and you're made in the image of God as a powerful African American healer. And when people forget who they are in God, they forget who they are in their own identity. And so I know that this book is going to be transcending for people, from an inspiration that comes from a construct that you know who you are and who you are connected to. So it changes everything. And I love that. And I'm glad that you broke that down, because it helps people understand not just terminology, but what it means and how it's perceived, and how it really impacts how people will see themselves or not see themselves. Because what you did with that officer,
Yeah.
you helped him see himself as you saw yourself.
And it and when after we got back on the road, my sister and my niece were thinking we could call all kinds of people to straighten these people out.
Mhm.
And so you have to have a conversation with the Lord, and that was not what I was supposed to be doing. As a result, which is another story for another time, my niece got back into school
Mm.
and graduated, and now has a master's,
Mm.
and she works in the prison system
Mm.
Wow.
Mm. Healing.
at
Healing.
31.
Okay.
So 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 that's where the idea for the book,
Mm.
African American Seventh-day Adventist Healers in a Multicultural Nation, that is where it's grounded. And then I had a conference at Loma Linda University. I asked them if we could have that conference, the African American Healers Conference, because I believe that we need to begin conversations, talk about us in a celebratory way. That's where we need to begin. And so the dean at that time, of the School of Religion, said yes, and they supported the conference. And that's where the idea, the papers were presented, and then of course.
Wow. I have a question, and it is similar to the second question I'm going to ask. Understanding what you just shared with us, why is it so important to you personally to have this conversation for generations to come? Now, you gave us the context, but in 2021, this book has been published. Why is it so important in this time?
You know what? I was talking to myself, and of course, you all probably do this a lot when you're getting ready to do something. You start talking to yourself in terms of what you need to
Self-talk,
say. Yeah.
yes.
Mhm.
Okay. So I was talking to myself, and I'm also thinking about the business, the publishing company. Shout out to Pacific Press, in terms of how it will benefit people. People. So, one, this book is so important in this day and time. And this particular book is Seventh day Adventist, African American Seventh day Adventist healed. So many of the essays pour into the rich tradition of Black African American Seventh day Adventists in terms of what has been done. Some of the essays are very theoretical, and some of them are very practical. So they are teachable in terms of what they share about the African American Seventh day Adventist contribution, not just to the Seventh day Adventist church, but to the larger public square. So, for instance, as I was going back over the text this morning, and I was reading the only female essayist in the book, Dr. Andrea Trustee King, who wrote about women. So just think of this as I was reading that text. She frames it in We Too Sing America, which of course is a poem that written by Langston Hughes. This is why this text is important. So if you, Minister Fred, sit down and read that essay, what you will walk away with is a story of Irene Morgan, for example, who came before Rosa Parks, who was a Black Seventh day Adventist. She sat on the bus. So, what does that do for you? What does that do for me? If I have a challenge, this is the healing part. if I have that kind of challenge and I'm walking in that tradition, then if I get on a bus or if I'm on a highway, it is the strength that I learned from her and people like Sojourner Truth, who's also here, that I can also move through it. Healing does not say, if you look at the National Institute of Health's definition of health, healing does not say that you are like totally well, that you don't have any illness. Healing says that in spite of that, there's wellness. So, for instance, if a person may have my father used to say that when he was sick, he would say, "My body is weak, but my spirit is well." So, if a person may have a devastating illness or one where they're getting ready to pass away, but they have this beautiful clarity, there's wellness in the illness, right? So one of the essay, if you go through that essay and you see Morgan had that whole illness that, and by the way, that was placed on her in terms of racism and in terms of being arrested. She still thrived and moved out of that. That's why this text is so important, because it's showing that we have Dr. Rock, who talks to us about being healed by something better, right? Oh, that's cool. Healed by something better. We as African Americans, when we move upon the planet, we are healed by this something better. And that's why we can just move forward. Because they may try to dampen our spirit by shooting a black boy that's taking a job, or they may put a black female in a prison and she's hung. We could be shooting up a whole lot of people, but we walk in a healing spirit, and we're that model for everyone to see. This is how you look as a healer.
That is powerful on so many levels. When you were saying that, it made me realize that it goes back to what God's design, that we are humankind. And when we forget that we are all made in the image of God, when we begin to take sides, when we begin to do self-hate, our reflection is not, it's dirty, it's dusty, it's not what it needs to be. It's books like this, it's constructs that God has given you that you're sharing with us in the world at large that transcends denomination, though it is a highlight of Seventh day Adventist African American healers. That is powerful because that's what the gospel does. That's what spirituality does anyway. It's not only better, but it's bigger, and it reforms, or it's transforming in its own right, because you're talking about all right.
Right. And I like your point, Minister Fred, because the one thing, of course, that you brought out that I really want to pull that one out here is that this is one text, and this is about African American Seventh day Adventists. My particular academic work is on the Montgomery bus boycott of 1955, which we sometimes, what I need to hear about that particular boycott, that particular movement, is that center to it is a Christian ethos. That when those people sat in the church on Monday for their meeting, they were steeped in a Christian experience. And all of their meetings, when they were moving out, they were praying. When they were walking, they were praying. So it's not just, I'm glad you brought that out,
Yeah.
this particular tradition, but it spans
Right. It
in
does.
terms of denomination. And in his work, Dr. Rock points that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, before we go into a few, because I'm glad we're going, because that was going to be the next piece. So let's talk a little bit about some of the writers and the essay, you know, the pieces. Um, what another thing that I think is amazing, and we want to celebrate you, is that you're an African American woman who brought this to the light. Now I know there are other people that have said, "Hey, let's celebrate this sister and that sister," but from the context, this is very, very needed, because at the end of the day, while while it is true that we have to love everybody, we still have to love ourselves and know who we are. Because if you don't know who you are, then you will accept anything and any other philosophy. So, with that being said, you, you're a professor, you're articulate. As a young girl growing up, and I'm sure you have seen a lot of different things. What motivated you to say, I want to be a person that would become a African American healer?
Well, I don't, I think as a young girl, I know this. I know as a young girl, I did not consciously think that I want to be an African American healer. But I was blessed. I was blessed to have. Um, I grew up in North Philadelphia.
North Philly, 215.
As I tell people, you know, my soul is in Alabama. My heart is in Philly. I grew up in Philly, but Alabama has made me who I am in
Mm,
terms of my commitment to this. Growing up, to answer your question, I was really blessed to have. My mother is the founder of the Pan African Studies Community Education Program at Temple University, called PASTA. And you can check her out on YouTube. That's the one blessing that I have about my mother being passed, is that I can still hear her voice. But with my mother went back to school as an older student, and we lived in North Philadelphia. And my mother had it in her mind that that Temple, which of course is a large Research One institution. I graduated from Temple. It's a Research One institution. It is housed in North Philadelphia. So my mother had in her mind that there should be a community education program where the people in the surrounding community projects can have an opportunity to experience Temple. So, and then my mother, when we were growing up, my mother went to Africa. I have never been to Africa. My mother went to Africa about 4, maybe 6 or 7 times. She took my younger sister, of course, who was open enough to go. And she came back, and we had an African room in our house. Now, we didn't have this big house, but she took one room, one little small room, and created an African room. And then my dad, everybody, my dad loved everybody. In fact, both of my parents, I never heard them talk about anybody.
wow.
They were a better human being than their daughter. So, and then we always had, they were family people that, you know, came around. And my dad was a member of Marcus Garvey. He was a member of the AME Church. He was a member, they were Muslims, you know, black Muslims.
Yeah, black.
Okay, at one point. And so it was always this and my younger sister and I, we were talking about this. There was always this affirmation of who we are as African American people. You know, there was not a question that we were beautiful people.
Yeah.
That wasn't a question. That was the discussion. That was the way they lived. And they did it in a way that was not like philosophical, like having these big discussions and stuff, and like these big. They also lived in that space. So of course you're a kid. You want to be like these people, and you may not even know that you want to be like these people.
Was your community part of the Black Panther movement?
No, they weren't a part of the Black Panthers. However, my father and mother had a high regard for that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they were people who just, I'm telling you. And so when I was bused to a white Caucasian junior high school. And we were on the bus, and so the Caucasian kids were in the back smoking marijuana. This is to answer your question.
I hear you.
And the black kids, we were in the front. Well, of course, the marijuana, you can start smelling the marijuana, right? The bus driver says, I want all y'all to get off the bus. He said, I want to know who has the marijuana. We all got off the bus. The police officers came. The police officers came with a van. We were bused to a white school. But we were supposed to be the smart black kids. Came with a van. They put one person in the van, but that person spoke up. And then we all said, oh no, we all getting in the van. That's because of the people that raised us.
Right.
We all got in the van, got to the police station, let us out, they put us in this room. They said, we want to know who has a knife. Now, mind you, they separated us from the white kid. So, they separated us. I started to write everything that they said to us.
Wow.
Every single thing. Now, I'm telling you, we were 7th and 8th graders.
Wow.
Everything they said to us, because of the people who raised me, who said, you are beautiful as you are. Don't ever let anyone say that you're not beautiful as you are. Right? I wrote down everything everybody said. Everything. And then we went home. We called our parents. Our parents called each other and said, we're showing up at the school the next day with my report. I had my report. They said they had never seen anything like this. We did not holler. We didn't scream. We didn't shout. We didn't say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Because intuitively we knew that we were here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it was those people. And then as I moved on, when I went to college, I was fortunate enough. I did start out at a HBCU, but then I transferred to Temple because Sonia Sanchez was going to be at Temple. Sonia Sanchez is one of the mothers of the Black Arts Movement. And I wanted to study with her.
All right.
And so I learned, in addition, how beautiful we are as a people through the Black Arts Movement. It wasn't from they shouted at me. It wasn't that they told me to shout. I never forget. I told you I graduated from Temple University, and I took this course, and I got an F on a paper, and I went to Sonia Sanchez crying. She said to me, I want you to remember this. Sometimes when you speak and you voice a certain point of view, that does not agree with the larger point of view is going to be made to pay a price. What you need to do is to continue to operate in your truth. So if you grow up with that, and every day I do say I am blessed. You know what I'm saying? I am blessed to be. I don't say I'm blessed to be, a human being. I don't say I'm blessed to be. I say I am blessed to be an African American. That's a blessing.
Yeah.
That song you played at the beginning, in spite of myself, you chose me. I believe that God chose me to be an African American. And all of those people, they help to deliver what it is that God wanted to deliver. Starting with Annie and Russell. And that's why this book, in addition to I have a co-editor, Andy Lampkin, is dedicated to our parents.
That's awesome.
Because it started with those two people, my mother from Alabama, my father from Philadelphia. And it wasn't, I mean, it was always an affirming, this is who you are.
So let's share with our audience and those that will be listening going on in the future how they can get your book.
Okay.
And then we'll also make sure that we put it in the chat as well.
Okay, the book can be purchased from Pacific Press. And again, I just have to shout out Pacific Press. I shopped this book for from 2013 and it's being published now.
Wow.
So this was a long shopping. So I really have to give just a shout out. So you can order it from Pacific Press. And I did put the link in the chat.
All right,
Yeah.
awesome. Now I want to finale with the future because you've given us a lot, and I believe that with what we've already received, and I know you've been blessed, and this has just been so inspiring. And Professor X is going to put it up so that you can see that as well. But going forward, now that we see the need and we understand the value of this book, of the construct, of the importance of understanding that you are beautiful as African American in a world that is not only multicultural, but in crisis all the time. What should we look for, or what's in the future that we can not only support, but also grow and be blessed by? Today it was in this book, Seventh Day Adventist African American Healers. What's next?
What's next? What's next is to continue the concept, African American healers. Look at that. I would like, this is my academic hat, like to look at a younger demographic in terms of, let's just say 40 and under, in terms of their discussion, in terms of African American and how we operate as healers in this country. That's one. And then two, we need to think about our one thing as African American healers and to encourage people to do their one thing every day in terms of being an African American healer, if you are African American. If you are not African American, and this is a point that I really want to stress also, the reason why I can celebrate other ethnic groups is because I love my own.
Come on. Yes.
So if I am reminded of people's response to the Black Lives Matter movement, and people start saying, well, all lives matter. Well, the Black Lives Matter movement, they were not saying that other people's lives don't matter.
Right.
They said, I'm peering through this lens to let you know that this group matters. And if I understand that this group matters, then I can also understand that this group matters.
Correct.
So if I'm saying that I am African American healers in a multicultural nation and that we're the most beautiful people on the planet and that we are the foundational healers and the covering healers of this country, I'm not saying that you are not who you are. I'm just saying this is the beauty of who we are.
Right. Correct.
And it shouldn't be a threat to be able to do that.
Exactly. And because I understand that beauty, then I can celebrate yours also.
That's right. Because you can see beauty when you start from the perspective of beauty.
Exactly.
And I want to say one other thing, that we want to say thank you, because you have shared something that I've always believed in. We say all the time, there's only one race. There's the human race. You have multi-ethnics, ethnical backgrounds, cultural diversity, inclusion, all of that. But it's still the human race. You only have a few blood types, and whether I'm brown, black, Caucasian, or other, we still have the same 5 blood types. So we may be in the hospital laying next to each other, and I'm not African American, and you are, and we all are O blood type. We're gonna still need O blood type, and it's beautiful to know that when you know who you are and who you belong to, and the beauty of both, that you can find beauty in others. Any takeaways before we're gonna play? I want you to share about this music video by one of your students, but give us a few takeaways, and then why should they get this book?
Okay,
Let's do that one.
takeaway.
Yes.
Takeaway. I really want to encourage you all to purchase from Pacific Press, African American Seventh Day Adventist Healers in a Multicultural Nation. Why? The primary text, primary focus is that the African American is a healer. You will get that in this book right here. 2, if you have an interest, an inkling of an interest in terms of the history of African American Seventh Day Adventists, you want this book. 3, if you want to impart or pour into young people, and you want to begin the conversation with them that they are African American healers, and you want to get a definition from the National Institution of Health, and then how that is related in the broadest sense to African American healers, you want this text. Takeaway. Because of the tradition that I walk in, I've taught a lot of students in my over 30 years of teaching. And every time I look at a student, I look at and affirm, this is the best. You are the best on this planet. And so that Christmas song.
Yes.
I taught Jessica Wagner at Oakwood University.
Mm.
And Jessica, I never forget, what she's doing, she always wanted to do. So my role in the Department of English and Foreign Languages at Oakwood University during the time she was there was to make sure that she did what she envisioned herself to do.
Mm.
And so every time I see something that she has done, and when you listen to this Christmas song, it is just absolutely beautiful.
Mhm.
I think about how in that small HBCU, this young woman has left, and she's like healing the planet.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's what she's doing.
It's all right.
We did a play, Amen Corner. And it came to a point where someone said that maybe we shouldn't do the play because we couldn't pull off the music. And she said that every time she was going to do a play, she said it was canceled.
Mm.
And I said, if you and I have to act in this play all by ourselves, then we're going to do this play. And we performed that play.
Mm.
So because I walk in the tradition of being an African American healer, every student that I teach, that's where I begin with. And to finally end this semester, I had an experience with a student. I tell students, and I'm going to ask you all, when you purchase this book, get your popcorn and your water and have a good time.
All right.
And so I tell students when they're going through, because these are stressful times here. I tell students, and I teach at schools in this community, I say to them, as I look at them, mostly African American, that you are the greatest event of the 19th century.
Wow.
That's who you are.
Wow.
And my purpose here is for you to do well. So get your popcorn and your water, and let's work on doing well. And this semester, I had a student, and I even this semester gave the students my cell,
Mm.
and I said, you text me whatever question you have. Just don't text me after 7 o'clock. Because my purpose is for you to do well. And the students, they would text me. And one student, when you understand your African Americanness, you can reach out to others. He's not an African American student. Came to class one day, and he said, Dr. Hyman, I have something for you. And I said, really? What is it? And he said, here's some popcorn. He said, my dad had lots of popcorn, and I thought about you. So is it the popcorn? Is it the water? It is reaching out to them and saying, you can do well. And I'm going to do everything to make sure that you do well. And if we nickel and dime in terms of grades, doing well for me is not a C.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if they have to text me, or if they have to call me, or if they have to send me messages that you usually would not send your professor, or if they say, Dr. Hyman, I'm going to show you how to create a wig after this is all over, as long as they do well. Because when I look in their eyes, I want them to understand you can heal others because you're an African American healer.
Wow.
And with that, as you young people say, I'm going to drop the mic.
So, Dr. Hyman, thank you so much for taking time to share this amazing journey, this amazing book, amazing pieces inside, and essays, and all the good stuff that you have shared with us. Again, it's on the screen. The African American Seventh Day Adventist Healers in a Multicultural Society. Please do us and her and yourself, most importantly, a favor by supporting, by getting the book. 19.99. We blow that at getting 2 or 3 pieces of some coffee elsewhere. You know what I mean. So I want you all to take the time. It's on the screen. I want you to just take a look at it um, as we prepare to wrap up. And then we're going to also hear a song from Miss Jessica
Yes.
as well. And I'm going to say this too. Thank you so much because, Doc Hyman taught me. And I was one of those African American boys that became a college student that didn't see the value and how much healing and how much of a healer I was until I got in her class, and she wouldn't accept a C. She would not accept a C vote. And I turned out all right. And now we do stuff together. And we work together in the Camp Smart, and we work with kids from some of the most challenging circumstances, and they do brilliant things. We do it every summer. Tell them about that just real quick, and then we're gonna, as he's queuing up the song, the video.
Camp Smart. Camp Smart. In fact, I'm working with Temple now, past that. The program my mother started. Because of online, I'm teaching creative writing course for them online volunteer.
All right.
And I was telling the ladies about Camp Smart because we're writing a book. And I showed them the book from this young people at Camp Smart. So we spend 2 weeks as writers in Camp Smart. And we go through all of the poetic forms, those major forms that students need to know. And then they come away with a book. They write a book. And so we don't go over 10 students because it actually becomes a writer's room.
Correct.
And so this summer, the plan is to have the students, we want them to travel. We do take them on trips usually, but we really want them to travel this time because we want to write American spaces. And so we're hoping to do that this summer. So if you want to support Camp Smart, if you want to support young writers, if you know young writers, believe you me, I am Miss Ramona at camp. That's the camp that we have.
Right.
Yes, and you can go to our website, nomoredirty.org, and there's a Cash App on the wall behind us, which is nomoredirtyinc. Yeah, they'll definitely go by and check it out because we've done some amazing. We had a writer that was 8 years old, published author and writer. I'm talking articulate. She did her piece at the Good Music and Arts Festival.
Yeah.
8 years old, folks. Sharp, witty, edgy, and brilliant at 8 years old. I mean, amazing. We had 10-year-old, 11, 12. I mean, and they're young. When I tell you they're young, I mean they're very, very, very young. But young people, they are like sponges. They grab it all. They get it all. So when we help them see that they're an African American healer, man, what's next?
Yeah.
What's next? So again, we want to say thank you for taking the time to spend with us today. This has been an amazing, amazing conversation.
Thank you.
And thank you. Thank you. And she's been
Thank
doing
you all.
this. You know what I'm saying? She's been doing this and she's still doing it, you know? So thank you. So let's put our hands together for Dr. Hyman. Listen, we do God's mailbox. We just want you today. We're going to do it a little differently. What we do is every Saturday or every time we meet, get you an index card. Just get an index card, right? Put your requests on there. You talk to the Lord. This is your conversation. This is your journal, right? Talk to the healer and say, listen, this is where I am. This is what I want to do. I want to be healed in this area, blah, 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 blah. And put it in an envelope, seal it up, put it in a shredder, shred it, throw it in a trash compactor, do whatever, burn it. We burn it at the end of the month. That's what we normally do. We'll do that in December. And then watch God be God. Every prayer request I know that I put in, and we got this from Sister Dawes, who rest her soul. She was the one that brought this to us, and it has transformed our lives. And it helped us to realize that we are healers because we serve and we are a part of the great healer. So on behalf of us here, says you got any words? Any words, bro?
Yeah, I just enjoy sitting in a conversation, man. Healers. That's, coming from a community of destruction that, we got the Midas touch. Anything we touch, we destroy unless we do better than we know better. So thank you.
And again, thank you so much. And on behalf of that and to Pacific Press, and thank you so much for taking the time to invest in this amazing, amazing lady, because you know what? She helped us get where we are. And we're going to continue to be healers and help you. So I want you to enjoy this song. We'll throw you a couple of music videos, starting with Miss Jessica. And we will see you next week. We're going to have a turn up good time, brother. And we're going to talk about the theme of faith, how to go from believing that God can do to having faith in God that he is doing. We'll see you next week. God bless. Salute.
Yo, this goes out to everybody, man. Just like in that dark space, feeling alone, man. We gon' hit you up. Sunday Postman. Sunday Postman. Postman. Bro, they need it. Yeah.
Heard the body speak about him like they know him more, and I don't fit in. My friend asked me what I believe. I answered quickly, like it's easy. Am I so naive to agree with divinity? Not known personally.
So cold, man. Some people just talk about God, but do they really know him?
The lights in the room go out for a minute, and I'm still here. And I'm still here.
Yeah. Let me share. Appreciate it, Postman. Well, when you're racked with pain, unwarranted spaces, crazy lanes, here's the deal. Know that the light will come when you boldly speak and call his name. Yeshua. For me, it was Katrina B. But he said to me, yo, I love you. I understand it's a different normal, but I'm still here.
When I was young, boy, you're a loved son. Now I wonder what I have become. World full of cathedrals, not aiming for mass appeal. Just something I feel is real. As the hymn goes, people will know they are Christians by their love.
Real love.
Never noticed before the ominous tone, as if the phrase was a bad joke. The lights in the room go out.
Doesn't matter how dark it is.
For a minute, and I'm still here.
Show up.
Yeah. And I'm still here.
Thank you, God. Someone needs you right now. Yeah. Never too far. Singing never too far. Yo.
The lights in the room go out.
It's okay.
For a minute, and I'm still here.
He's
and
here.
I'm still here.
Give him a hand. Give him your heart. It's tough. God, I ask that you would bless them. Save them.
Sitting back reflecting on this time of year, kinda makes me laugh and smile and share a few tears. Watching my nieces string the Christmas lights all around that big tree with a beautiful sight. Having them close, feeling love surrounding me. It's everything Christmas is supposed to be. It's not the presents or the tree. It's not the snow or carolling, but the blessings never end with friends and family. That's what Christmas is to me. Mama in the kitchen cooking through the night. Papa after every phrase saying, that's alright. Grandma looking like a queen in her favorite chair, telling tales of Christmas throughout the years. Laughing with my best friend on the ship ride. Planning our futures side by side. It's not the presents or the tree. It's not the snow or caroling, but the blessings never end with friends and family. That's what Christmas is to me. My nieces are women now, fully grown. Her best friend's got a little girl and a family of her own. Papa and Grammy from this world are long gone. And I'm in the city, facing each day alone. This time of year can be hard, but you see. This love will always be there in your memory. Oh, it's not the present or the tree. It's not the snow
is to me. What Christmas is.